Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness. It's Monday again, so it's time for me to do some Q&As, and so I'm going to answer your questions again today. Hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, let's jump right into these questions. The first question I have is, hello Jason, I love your channel. There are some similarities between your channel and Ian McCarthy's channel, Lifting for Life, other than you are less arrogant and look like you lift. What do you think of Ian and his channel? In all honesty, I don't really have a problem with Ian's channel. I think that overall, that his channel is positive for the community. He puts out a lot of good information. I may not always agree with his approach or his level of tact, which is again why some people are accusing him of being arrogant. But to be perfectly honest, that doesn't detract from the quality of the information being put out. And as far as it being an effective business approach, financially, that was actually very wise for him to do things the way that he's done, has actually made his channel more successful. Yes, it's gotten him a lot of trolls, it's gotten him a lot of haters, but it's making him money. So even from a financial and a business perspective, it's actually fairly smart, which goes back to my other point with Ian himself. He's a very intelligent guy. While I think he lacks some of the real world experience he needs in this field, and he could stand to learn quite a bit more about training and working with real clients and doing these things in the real world, he is a very intelligent and very educated young man, and the vast majority of the information he puts out is pretty spot on. As far as the nutrition information, I don't think I have ever heard him make a nutritional statement that I can disprove. So I can't really knock anything he has to say there. I do agree with him, and we do have some similarities regarding some of the training information, such as things like training frequency, muscle protein synthesis. And the reason we're going to have that overlap is because we're reading the same studies. We're looking at all the same textbooks, the same research, and research on athletes, and seeing the same data. So therefore, we're going to have similar conclusions. That's just the way it's going to be. It's the way scientific consensus works. I do disagree with quite a bit of his training stuff. I don't always enjoy his training videos or watching him train. And I disagree with some of his training philosophies, but even then, a lot of the information within his training information, I would say, is still better than a lot of what's being put out on other channels. As far as looking like he lifts, well, you have to keep in mind, this is a kid who is anorexic just a couple of years ago, and he's actually made really good progress since then. But honestly, in a lot of ways, that's beside the point, because he's not marketing his physique. There are channels that are up to where guys are putting out bad information and marketing their physique as evidence to the success of the bad information they're putting out, and that's their own niche. Whereas Ian isn't promoting that niche. He's providing basic scientific information. You can't really argue with a lot of the data because it's very scientifically valid. It's very, very backed by research. It's very backed in the professional world of nutritional science and sports nutrition and people who work with and train professional athletes. He's not really making his own information up. He's just providing data that's already been written by experts and making it a little more digestible for the average person, and making it just in general more presentable to people and available. And those statements would be true regardless of who is presenting them. It wouldn't matter if it's a 400-pound obese person or a 90-pound anorexic presenting that data. It's scientifically valid. It's scientifically supported. So you can't really use that as an excuse to say the information isn't valid. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And let me go to the next question. Someone is insulin resistant. Will that person lose weight on a calorie deficit while still eating carbs? The reason I ask is it is becoming a very popular thing to say being insulin resistant, and I just wondered if these people can actually lose weight on a carb-based diet. Alright, if someone is truly insulin resistant, higher carb diets are going to be physically and psychologically difficult for them. However, they're still going to lose weight based upon calories in, calories out. So if someone is claiming, oh, I just can't lose weight on higher carbs even in a caloric deficit, they're not insulin resistant. They are full of fucking shit. They're a bullshitter who is either lying to you or lying to themselves, because it's simply scientifically not true. All available data says that they're full of shit. And so if that's the case and the person is actually just lying to you, or they're not being honest with either you, or they're actually lying to themselves and they actually aren't in a caloric deficit. Now, a person who is truly insulin resistant, yes, they will have issues with hunger, they will have issues with low blood sugar, they're going to have issues with irritability, mood. They're going to have some problems with too many carbs in their diet if they truly are insulin resistant, until they can get the insulin resistance sorted. However, if someone is actually truly not losing weight in a calorie deficit, that's not insulin resistance. They've got other major issues and they need immediate medical care. This person is seriously fucked up. They've got problems. So no, they're not actually insulin resistant if they're not losing weight in a deficit just because of higher carbs. It does not work that way. All right, next question. Any relevant difference between floor press and bench press? All right, this one I'm not going to be able to get into a lot of detail on because it's just too vast of a topic. But yes, there are some fundamental differences between them. I feel that for general hypertrophy done correctly, the floor press is slightly superior to the bench press in terms of total pec hypertrophy and things. And all the data I've seen shows that it can hang right there with dumbbells in terms of direct pec stimulation. It's also a great accessory movement for your bench press, particularly if you stick in the mid-range. However, the bench press is generally better for overall development. It's better for developing power. It's better for developing general strength throughout the whole body if done as a power movement more so than the floor press. If done as a very strict non-power movement, the two become quite similar, and I would say they're almost interchangeable in a bodybuilder program. However, they're not interchangeable in a power or strength program, not even remotely so. All right, next question. What do you mean by sucking in for abs? Can you give a detailed explanation, my friend? I love your videos. All right, this person was referring to me talking about stomach vacuums. I'm a huge fan of stomach vacuums. If you're curious about the history of this or how to execute these sort of movements, just go to Google and type in vacuum exercises. You'll be surprised at the host of data there. This has been a long-standing thing done in bodybuilding for many, many years, and it's only fallen by the wayside because modern IFBB pros use so many drugs that cause organ growth and visceral fat growth and things that they can't actually do vacuums anymore. However, stomach vacuums used to be a regular part of bodybuilding posing, and they've been used for generations by bodybuilders seeking to reduce the size of their waistline by training the muscles to collapse in more. So if you're curious on that, it's really easy to get information. Just type in stomach vacuums or vacuum exercises into Google, and you'll get a host of information there. And yes, I'm a fan of these, and I do them personally. Okay, the last question. The only difference between T1 diabetics and normal humans is an inability in the latter to produce insulin. If excess dietary fat makes people fat, even in the absence of insulin, why doesn't it make diabetics fat? Alright, this video was again by a poster who was arguing with me in my video on low-carb diets, and this is someone who clearly advocates low carbs, and we got into a bit of debate, and I finally just gave up on it. However, I want to answer this question directly because it's an asinine comparison to compare a diabetic, a true type 1 diabetic, to someone on a ketogenic diet, because biologically they are absolutely not the same. You cannot replicate the same effect by following a normal ketogenic diet. And all the evidence says that you can't, and we know that you can get fat as fuck on a ketogenic diet and a caloric surplus. I've seen it happen. All data says that it will happen. When we look at true deep ketogenic diets that are more ketogenic than the ones people are doing for weight loss, that are used medically, people gain weight and gain body fat at a normal rate. And this includes children. So you can take children who have epilepsy and put them on a deep ketogenic diet, which means at least 80% of their calories from fat. And they gain weight. They gain fat at the normal rate that other children their age are expected to. It doesn't even change that. So comparing the two doesn't work. And the reason you see this with type 1 diabetics is because they cannot utilize any of their dietary carbs or protein. So in order for them to gain weight or even maintain weight, they would have to shovel in enough fat calories by itself to actually hit their maintenance. So if they have a 2,000 calorie maintenance, they would have to eat at least 2,000 calories from fat every day to maintain their weight, because they're not going to use the other calories, and they just dump it through their bloodstream, in their urine, their feces. They dump all of it as glucose, as blood sugar. It just gets dumped and excreted because they cannot utilize it. And the biggest problem you see here is not just that they lose fat, but they lose muscle tissue at a rapid rate. These type of diabetics lose muscle tissue rapidly, and if you were to eat enough fat to maintain body weight, they would still continue to lose muscle and just gain body fat in order to replace the muscle weight. So even then, this isn't a valid comparison, and I don't know why anyone would want to compare a medical condition that doesn't work like the ketogenic diet does, because the ketogenic diets do not turn off all insulin response, with a medical condition that actually causes extreme amounts of muscle wasting. I don't know how anyone would think or make this comparison while being intellectually honest to say that a ketogenic diet in any way is indicative of being muscle sparing by comparing it to type 1 diabetics who lose huge amounts of muscle mass due to the lack of insulin in their body. And that's exactly what would happen to you if you run on a truly deep enough ketogenic diet to where you're eating so low of protein and carbs that you cannot actually replenish any muscle glycogen, and you're getting an insanely low insulin response, and you're never carving up. You will start shedding muscle mass at an extreme rate because your body cannot hold on to the muscle tissue without a reasonable enough insulin response. So you would actually see the muscle wasting on this type of diet. Okay, I hope this has been informative, and that's all I have to say on that today, and I will talk to you guys next time.